Hajj, thank you very much for taking time out of what I know is a very busy schedule to chat to us. I think it's the first time we probably had you sat down in front of the camera since you've taken on the job of Director of Player Personnel and Recruitment.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, let's hear a bit about you and about your story. How did you get to being where you are now, and what's your basketball journey to this point?
Yeah, so no, thank you for asking. And it is great to sit down with you guys for the first time. I love the content you guys put together for the public. So my connection to the Bullets began about 2 years ago. The majority owner, Jason Levy, and I have become, we just become friends through sports, through being dads. You know what I mean? So I was coaching my son's club team, 12U, and Jason joined shortly after I started. JJ, his son, joined shortly after I started coaching the team, and then through just conversations, seeing each other 3 or 4 times a week, just learning about his passion for basketball, then learning about his business, the business of sports investing, and how much he's invested personally into this to this organization has been, it's just been really cool for me to learn, the pro space and just how that all works. And it really started with, I was in a transitional phase where I had time for the first time in my life, to go check out a training camp. But I've never been able to do that because of different coaching opportunities or family obligations. So I said, hey, I'd love to come check out training camp in Australia. My wife said it was okay, so let's try to do it. And he's like, yeah, come on out. And then I just got to know him over that time, and got to know Stu Lash over that time. And they allowed me to kind of join in on some calls just to see the progress of the team. And I came out in August and stayed, I think, a little bit longer than I anticipated, like 4 or 5 weeks, just doing anything, whether it was laundry or rebounding and sitting in on coaches' meetings or some of the staff meetings, just really getting a feel. He gave me great access to just see how the whole organization worked. And that was an informal role. And then I came out in January for 2 games just because it lined up with my schedule, and came out for 2 home games, which was cool because my experience, based on the American summer, I guess the Australian fall, winter, the preseason, I got to see a lot, but I didn't get to see any real regular season games. So I was even more attached and enthralled with the organization after watching 2 home games in January.
Yeah, brilliant. And the role itself of Director of Player Personnel and Recruitment, it's a bit of a mouthful, but what does it mean? What is your sort of role day to day, and what are your tasks at hand?
Well, it's a new role, and I think it's a role that exists in a lot of different sports organizations. But I'm excited because it's a role that hasn't been fully manned, here. I know Stu did a lot of it, and I'll be supporting Stu as well in my role here. But the role is, I think the first thing people think about is scouting, and players that are not a part of the organization, and that is a really big part of it. But when I think personnel, I think about the guys under the roof. And really focusing on them, because I've been coaching long enough where it's easy to get distracted and focused on recruitment and the future and guys that aren't on your team, and sometimes you lose focus of the guys that matter the most. So the personnel for me is like being here as often as possible, and then when I'm not here, having regular interactions with the guys, just online or Zoom, or just really checking in on them, watching every single game, every single practice, not from a coaching standpoint, but just so I know what's going on and so I can just support the team. And then when I'm home and when I'm here, working my connections, going to G League games, college games, and just having an overall pulse on the scene of American talent. And then, I have several, but I'm building even more, European or international contacts, and just really staying on the phone and working those networks to just help build out the roster. And it's a never-ending process. There's transactions that happen before the season, during the season, after the season, and just always being vigilant and aware of opportunities to help build the team. But like I started with, not getting away from the guys that are wearing the uniform right now.
Yeah, and what do you make of the guys that are wearing the uniform now as you put it? That's got to be a starting point, right? You got to fit things around what already is here.
That's a great follow-up question because, I love this core. I got to know these guys pretty well last preseason and a little bit during the season, but Tristan, loved working with him, young guy. Obviously, Casey, just loved the work he put into to be as durable and as effective as he was last year, and Big Ty and Smack, and just there's so many guys, and like Norton's like the captain of all captains. I just love everything he's about. So really, I love that core. And like, I think as a selling point, that's one of the easier parts of the job of building a team. Like any player in the world, in Australia, just wherever they're coming from, these guys all know each other. And I think the reputation of that core group of guys is something that, hey, like, there's one thing you don't have to worry about. Maybe the location is not the best, or all these different factors aren't the best for a particular player, but going into every conversation with a potential, addition to the team, that they're going to enjoy and respect the core that's already there with, with the guys we have here. And so that makes the job easier, just because you don't have to, use smoke and mirrors to convince a guy that he's joining like a really cohesive unit.
Yeah, brilliant. Can you take us, I guess, inside the inner sanctum as to how player recruitment does work, and these pieces that we've still got to fit around the current roster? What's the process to try and fill that out and to complete that? Is it a conversation with Stu and then he goes off, or is it a full coaching group? How does that work?
It's not a set routine every single day. We don't have like a set itinerary, but it starts with. I think it starts and ends with constant communication. We have weekly calls. We have at least 2 weekly calls, no matter where we are in the world. I've for the first time did some calls actually from Brisbane, talking to Stu back home and talking to Mal and all the, talking to the coaches. So that's a constant. I think we all, in our own way, are researching and making calls and making connections. Obviously, being mindful of the spend, but. We're meeting at least twice a week, and that doesn't include all the text threads and just the different data that we're sharing amongst each other throughout the week. And so it's a constant, communication. So that's the first thing. And then what I'm doing personally is whenever a name comes up that I didn't bring up, I just take a deep dive into everything I can find out about that person. And I've always thought, no matter where it was, no matter whether it was youth coaching or all the way up to NBA, the talent, evaluation is not easy, but it's not the hardest part of the process.
Yeah.
So I don't ever mean to act like, oh, it's easy to evaluate talent. It's not easy, but I've been playing basketball my entire life and coaching it for half my life and just being around it. So I understand, and I have full confidence in my evaluation skills of what's on the floor, but then going that next step further, like, tell me about his wife, his partner, his spouse, his family, his path, his journey, like, what are the things that make this person tick? And then after you get all that information, you've got the on-court evaluation, you've got the off-court evaluation, then you mix all that together, and then as great as that person may seem, is there any redundancy, or is there some type of reason that person, no matter how great they may be on and off the court, does that person fit with the group? And that's the process that I'm going through every day. And I think in everybody's own way, they're going through some similar type of process.
Yeah, and I guess that sort of fitting in culturally is as important as any other element. It's all well and good getting some superstars in the same room or on the same court, but if they're not gelling as a team, then you're probably not going to get a championship. Exactly,
and the one thing you can't sacrifice, especially at a place like this, is the culture. And when I say a place like this, I mean a place that has such a strong culture. No matter how strong your culture is, it doesn't take much to put a dent in it if you don't have the right group of people. And the people here, not just the players, it's a really, really tight-knit group. And the culture is so strong and so solid. So I think that it makes you excited to go out and try to attract people to join your group. But at the same time, you know that the standard is really, really high.
Yeah.
So they have a high bar to reach if they want to even be considered for being a part of this culture. Because at the end of the day, they have to not just not disrupt the culture, but you want somebody to add to the culture and definitely not take away from the culture.
And in terms of the personnel in the front office, it feels like we have sort of all four corners of the globe covered with your own network. And Vandy, you look at with Australia under-17, so he knows what's up and coming in this country. Could you sort of touch on the benefits and the strengths of each person, if you like, in the front office and what they bring to the table?
Yeah. So I mean, Stu's been doing this for so long, and he's obviously had great coaching experience, but he's been a high-level agent and front office executive, and so he's so tapped into really the whole world, and he does a great job. He's taught me a lot about how to go about researching different players, but he he's really got a strong European connection and an American connection. Vandy's got Australia and more. He's, obviously he's a heavyweight out here, and he's really well respected. Like the reverence and respect our players have for it, I hear that same level of respect of Vandy for people outside the organization. So he's been really integral in building the team this offseason. D-Mac as well, with his skill set and with his, he's a legend here, and he knows so many people. And then obviously myself, like a ton of contacts within the NBA and then in European basketball, but also my own experience and my geographic location being on the East Coast, DC area, and arguably the most talent-rich area for grassroots basketball, but also being around ACC games, Big East games, NBA G League games. Are always like almost at my doorstep, and I don't have to travel too far. And so between all those people, we do have every corner of the globe covered, and that's what's so exciting and so fun about those meetings that we have each week, because I'm bringing information to the table, but I know I'm going to learn something about some part of the world or some player or some basketball scenario that I haven't heard of, and we're always just constantly sharing information. So it's kind of like it's like a war room almost, like every like at least twice a week. So it's a lot of fun.
And let's touch on the missing pieces in the roster without sort of bringing up names or individuals that you're going after. How does that fit at the minute? Obviously, it's in a patient approach from the team, but how do you start to bulk out that roster and look towards the season starting, or the preseason starting first and then the season starting?
I think, you look at the core. You've got Mitch, you've got Casey, Smack, Ty, Toey, Tristan. So you look at the positions and the roles that they play already. And then from there, I think two of the things that make sure all the members know we're working tirelessly on are just solidifying the point guard rotation and backup big rotation. Obviously, Tyrell is maybe the best player / big in the league, and Casey's really done wonders at the 3-4 position for us, and Mitch and Toey's been a great backup guy because he's kind of interchangeable. He shoots the ball so well, but he's big and rugged. He can guard big guys. So, but the shoring up the bigs and shoring up the point guard. Obviously, we know how integral the point guard is to the success of any team. So we've been in deep discussion with a lot of different players and agents, looking at the right scenarios, but also, and I get it, I understand the perspective of the fan. You get anxious and you want answers right now and you want to know what's going on, but I know that we're in a position where we have such a great core and we have such a great culture that we're not going to jump at every single thing or be rushed into something just because we're antsy and anxious, but we believe in what we're doing and we believe in the core that we already have. So at times it gets a little stressful for the fans sometimes, but I guess we would want them all to understand that we're working tirelessly. We have a process, and we're not only working, but we feel good about the direction we're headed. The timeline may not be as soon as everybody else wants it, but there's a lot of different scenarios playing out, and that's the thing with international basketball. Seasons are going on and stopping. Oklahoma City just finished, just a few minutes ago, right? And the NBA, and then all like that's going to start another round of discussions with just teams that are looking, not teams, but players that are looking for different opportunities. So it's a fun process, but it's a tireless process, and we're focusing on the point guard position and the backup bigs and just solidifying around the core we have. But those are the long-winded answer, but those are the pieces that we're looking at: point guard and then backup bigs.
Brilliant. Yeah. And then just a final one. Jason said the other day on record on NBL Now, I think, that he's excited as he's ever been during his sort of tenure with the Bullets because of everything that's happening on and off the court. Obviously, you've got a slightly outside perspective as well, sort of a different lens on things. Is that sort of a view that you resonate with and agree with, given the situation and the outlet that you have at the moment?
I think Jason and I talk, way more often than I talk to these guys a lot, but obviously Jason's like a neighbor of mine, and we see each other quite a lot in person. So we're always filling each other, and he's filling me in on developments. I'm filling him on, roster and personnel developments. And he does, and I do. We all have reason to be really, really excited because we do know the direction we're headed, but we also know where we started from a few years ago. And this 10 days in particular, I won't speak for Jason, but just being out here, physically being out here and seeing everybody and getting to meet some of the players and spend some time with them again, I think that also gives you more reason for excitement. And quite frankly, a first full season in this physical space, in this facility, cannot be understated. I think it's great for the people that work upstairs where we are right now, but also the guys knowing that they can 24 hours a day, they can come in and have a high level, like world-class training facility. And then not 24 hours a day, but just probably about 16 hours a day, you have access to some of the best coaches around. And then we're also serving the community in this space. So it's such a positive environment right now because the facility is getting used to the max. Like we've got a bunch of kids out here from the US right now, and then there's club teams practicing in here, and the guys are training here every single day with Vandy and DMAC and Pat. And so all of those things combined, the use of the facility, the access, and then the core and the culture and everything that we have working behind the scenes, which unfortunately it does have to stay behind the scenes right now, but we've got some things cooking right now that give us a lot of optimism.